interesting thing about this that's going to come out later on is that because the written word wasn't there like it is now when we get to Bible and things, Paul says that one of the best gifts you could have would be a prophecy.
All right.
That's saying something there because it says that God has spoken to you about what's coming up later on and everything. So he says out of all these gifts you have and everything, you don't need to go out and talk about them and have fights about them and things of this nature, but really and truly, you know, if you want to have a gift that's going to be something that's important to everybody, the gift of prophecy would be the best thing to have.
Okay. One of the first things that happened in this book was they were lording over others who had baptized. All right? Who had baptized. Which meant, well, Apollos baptized me, so I must be, you know, cleaner than the rest of you. All right? More of my sins have been forgiven, or whatever the case. They weren't using it for unification. They were using it to be more important than others. All right?
But the Ephesians were doing the same thing.
Ephesians.
That was a theme that ran throughout the churches of Asia Minor.
Abel and Cain. All right? It was all the way back in the beginning. Now, you know, why would God accept one over the other? My gift is just as good. All right? So yes, we've been fighting about it, and we will fight about it. But if we recognize that we all came here together through the same process, baptized into the same spirit, now, all right, we'll allow somebody from Arizona to come in. Yes. Yes, please. I thought I saw a hand. No? It was Crystal with a K. She was, no?
You know, Freddie, if you put it into different experiences, you could say, you know, you could have a brand new car. If you don't put gas in it, it's not going to run.
Right.
Put gas in it, but you don't have any oil, it's not going to run.
Black out.
No air in the tires, there's a problem. And we get that. Why is it so difficult then to come together, working for the Lord and have that unity and not that separation?
I think one of the problems is
Acknowledgement.
acknowledgement of
We
what?
all want to be, we want to be acknowledged and seen and heard. But the point is to bring Christ into the center of it all. It's not about us, it's all about Him.
I'm going to pick on Kyle is sitting right in front of you, so I couldn't quite see you. But I remember driving in here a few years back, and I saw Kyle out in the bushes out there, okay? It was a weekday. It was hot. He had that big hat on. He's out there, you know, working on the sprinklers or whatever, you know. And you think, when we come here on Sunday, anybody realize that Kyle has been here working in the weeds? No. Did we appreciate the fact that, yes, we did appreciate it. There's so much goes on behind the scenes. You say you want, you know, every day, 24 hours a day, that TV screams at us that you are, and you should, and the world should, at your feet. Yes?
Yeah.
Greatest is the one who serves. We don't, you don't see that on TV. Yes?
You know, man is a competitive human being.
That's right.
I always tell young people, whomever, say, compete on the ball field. Let's go ahead and play ball, play some sport or something. That way you get it out of your system. Don't come to the church and compete out there. You know, they had the Olympics back in those days, and sometimes you have to find a way to divert that competitive spirit to something else, in sports or some other activity or some other recreation may be a good way of doing it.
You mentioned team sports, all right? beauties of team sports is realizing that each contributes. All right? They have a little niche that they fill. Big guys on the line in football. All right? Smaller guys in other areas. Yes? If you had 11 really big guys on your football field, they'd run over you because they'd run around you. All right? What we need to do, back to your point, is each and every one of us as individuals find an area that you can contribute. All right? Not so the whole congregation knows that you're and do it. Right? Alice knits. Yes? All right? We got talents. All right? Molly?
I was just gonna say that when someone is baptized, through the years, I've seen people that have been able to lightly encourage that person to find their gift. You don't automatically say, oh, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that. You have to find, like you said, your niche or your place in the church. And there's been so many creative people that, you know, you look and you think, I could never do that. But look at them, they're just shining in that position. And so it's been a wonderful thing to see each person blossom in their own way and try to contribute to let the Lord shine.
Some don't want the light. Some do not want to be out, you know. They do what they do. They're not looking for any attaboys or whatever it is, attagirls, whatever you know. They just do what they do. All right? Willie took Curtis.
To see Robert.
Curtis
The San Diego.
took him to San Diego last week.
It was
All
fun.
right?
It was fun.
Okay?
Some places I never see going
All right.
out all day. Yeah. It was nice.
You know,
He reached out, yeah.
Willie's not somebody who wants to like. He's got his picture if you drive up Newport, all right? If you go and you come, there you'll see his picture on one of those poles, ring and all this, and the next picture is his daughter, all right? And he wasn't even aware he was up there. Tracy put it up there. And he said he's driving down the street, and Tracy said, look up. I said, look up, what are you talking about? She said, turn around, we gotta go back. And he saw his picture. Willie didn't, you know, that wasn't Willie's doing. Look at me, I'm a Marine, all right? No, you know, he likes it. He definitely likes seeing his daughter up there. Lolita asked me, how much that cost? And Willie said, it's free, all right? The city, you know, honoring the military, that people who had served in the military. But Willie would go and visit folks, and you never know, all right? We just lost Audrey Richards, all right? And he was surprised. She was over 100, and all of a sudden, Willie just showed up, all right? Without any fanfare, without, you see what I mean? You find that thing that you do, and you develop it, all right? I told you before, during COVID, it was, you know, the Wallaces showing up on our doorstep with the right amount of space between, all right? But just to see them, all right, is something that's just really great. And we all can contribute. All can contribute. Yes? Yes? I look over at my wife. She taught those little kids for how many years? How many years? You know what I mean? I mean, she'd work, getting her classes ready, I mean, you know, and sometimes only one kid, you know, but next week she was ready to go, all right? And now Deborah's doing it, right? She's getting embarrassed, all right? But it's extremely important, yes? Am I preaching to the choir? No, no. All gifts. Jake here talks about, at this particular time we had spiritual gifts, all right, miraculous gifts, all right, but we have gifts right now today, all right, that can be shared. Just a pat on the back, just an encouraging word, just someone to say, how you doing this morning? Yes? All right?
I admire some of the women here that went to see these cancer patients, these young children, and brought them gifts, you know.
Exactly.
Ladies of the church here. And
Exactly.
these kids that are having cancer, they're suffering, and they went to see them. They
Do
made
we-
their day, I'm sure.
I'm sure. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve had the kids here from 5 o'clock to 8. Ken's grandson brought the message. All right? Before they start playing and being kids. All right? Yes? I thought that was a great thing to do on New Year's Eve. Yes? I just want to make sure they're going out of here by 8 o'clock. I don't want them out there before all the crazies. Yes? But there's different ways that we can contribute. All right? Okay. And chapter 13 is going to tell you in the manner in which you contribute. But that's David 12. One more time, I'd like to read 13. For by one Spirit we were all baptized into one body, whether Jews or Greeks, whether slaves or free, and have all been made to drink into one Spirit. For in fact, the body is not one member, but many members. If the foot should say, because I am not a hand, I am not of the body, it is therefore not of the body. And if the ear should say, because I am not an eye, I am not of the body, it is therefore not of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the hearing? If the whole were hearing, where would be the smelling? But now God has set the members, each one of them, in the body, just as he pleased. And if they were all one member, where would the body be? We are a diverse group. We should celebrate our diversity and work to pull it together, all right? To strengthen it. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
I'm going to pick on you, Larry. How tough is it to unify the congregation? And I'm going to pick on you because of this. You were a do-it-all. I don't know how many times I've come in here and Larry's on the ladder, Larry's out back, you know, okay, okay? And I said, Larry, come on. No, I got this, all right? The ladies wanted a hole drilled in the door so they could have a little, I came out here, you know, Larry's already up there drilling the hole, you know. Now I put you on the spot. I've jumped on you for doing everything. Now I want to know, how important is it to bring and help others come out with their talents and their skills?
Well, it's the only way everybody's gonna feel a part of it. I was always told, my dad always taught me, if there's something small, just go ahead and do it.
All right?
But at the same time, I see that sometimes you can kind of leave people out by doing that.
That's right.
So, everybody has a talent and everybody wants to feel needed in the church. And so, every member is extremely important. It's just like today when Hebrews says, why do we come together? Not just to assemble, not just because we have to, but to encourage one another.
Exactly.
And it's very encouraging when you're preaching to look out and see faces, familiar faces, new faces. And what do you do with those folks? And you have to say, okay, if you find one that has a specific talent, use the talent. Get them to use their talent. Not always easy, And I looked at him and said, "You're crazy." But the next week, guess what? You brought the message. And so you know, bring people in. And some people have talents they don't know they have. And so you can bring those out as well.
Yes, sir.
I remember back in the day, when I was in my thirties, that our congregation was at its peak. And so in the women's, leadership class and men's leadership class, we would seek out, try to find out what people's talents are and what the use now. We used to have about 5 guys want to preach, but you could only have one preacher. So we sent some to the prison ministry, and we sent others to other congregations. We put some over, working with the youth, and then with the women, we'll do similar things, what women can do. So some women could, they have, say, special teaching skills or whatever it may be, you can make with the younger sisters and so forth, and do a lot of different things. So we try to utilize everybody, and that's what you have to do. But we had classes that we find out what everybody's background so we can utilize it.
Okay.
And that was a long time ago. We don't have to end up, we old now.
All right. Alice.
I often think about this lady in Compton who started a musical group.
Okay.
She was trying to get the kids off the streets and,
Okay.
you know. So she had really small kids all the way up to teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And we took our son there.
Mm-hmm.
And he became part of what was called Compton Boys Choir.
Okay.
And she had the chord leaders. They learned to play instrumental music, you know, the instruments and all
Right.
that. And they, even at Christmas time, would go downtown to, I forgot the name of that building where it would be on TV every year where they would have all these different groups come and play and sing, you know, for Christmas. But there was one young lady who learned to play the violin,
Mm-hmm.
and she was really Church of Christ. And she is a member of the Philharmonic.
Okay, Philharmonic, okay.
Yeah. And I think about how useful she is to the church. Because when we have weddings and Women's Day programs and stuff like that, she comes and plays the violin, you know. You don't have to pay somebody to come in and do it, you know, and she's so happy to do that, you know, for the church, you know. So it's not just in the worship service that we can use our talents, you know, there are so many ways that we can use our talents, but it starts in the church because we sing, you know, and we find out that we have talents, you know, just by being a member of the church. So, my point is, we have the opportunity to encourage our kids to find their talents from little kids up into adulthood. And not only can the boys be beneficial, but the girls can be beneficial as well.
I don't know how it fits. But yesterday morning, I went out. I like to go out, let the sun come up, pray, and I looked down, and there was a spider, not as big as the period on that page. I mean a little teeny tiny spider. And I watched that spider working a little bitty web from one grass blade to another grass blade. And I said, God had a plan for this little bitty teeny tiny spider. I think God had a plan for me. God had a plan for you. God had a plan for you. God had a plan. All we have to do is, what's God want me to do? How? And my prayer many mornings is, Thanks for allowing me to be a part of your plan. To whatever I can contribute, let me contribute, all right? Now, everybody gets tired. Sometimes I can't do all of this, all right? But, all right, look for that talent, develop that talent, look for others who can help you with that talent, yes? And use it. We are all created by the same God. Hi Sandy, how you doing? One second, Alice. There was a time when, and I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, just about everyone who passed in this congregation, Sandy was sitting there with them. Yes? For many of those people, all right? I didn't know anything about that, all right? There's lots of ways for us to contribute. There's lots of ways for us to be a part of the same body, to encourage each other, to grow together. You gotta learn about each other, all right? Gotta learn what you like to eat, what you like to cook. Yes? All right? Don't cook liver for me. I'm sorry. That's a good spirit, brother. My mom used to try it. No, I ain't going for that liver. I don't care if you put all the gravy in it. No. It's liver. Yes, sir.
We get old and we get tired.
Yes, sir.
But you still have experiences. I know I told Jake the other day, I said, he'd been an elder for a long time.
That's right.
Could I come pick your brain occasionally? Okay, there were two ministers here when I was here. I picked their brains because they had the experience that I don't have. And so there's always something, no matter how old we get. And especially, I say this to those that are younger. Use the older folks and find out experiences that they've had that will help them in their lives to stay on the path and to continue to grow.
I agree with you. Alice, you were saying?
Yeah, I was just thinking that the purpose of the lesson is that we help people find their talents, but we encourage them not to become jealous of each other. You know, that becomes a big problem in the church when people see someone excel in their gift and they become jealous. We're supposed to encourage each other.
Comparison
and
doesn't work.
you know, for them.
Right.
And that helps them because sometimes we stifle people when we show animosity because of their talent, you know. And that's not God's intent. We're supposed to work together, love each other, and encourage each other.
Sounds like chapter 13. Yes, sir.
You know, as we get older, our roles and jobs and talents change.
Sure it does.
There's a story in the Old Testament about King David. He goes out to war against Goliath's cousin. And during the battle, David becomes very, very weak because he's an old man. And his associates had to come and help him and kill Goliath's cousin. And they flat out told him, from now on, you don't go to battle anymore. You're too valuable back here in leadership kind of a situation. We'll do the fighting. And that's kind of like what Larry's saying. You know, we change, and we got to be wise enough to realize when we can't do those things anymore, where we could go someplace else and do something.
Sure.
I think too, if you hang on to that job, it hinders the next group from coming up.
Right.
I'm picking on you, Barbara. Barbara was in charge of the last potluck we had, and she had Shannon help her, and Marilyn and Lisa. And I said to her, what do you want me to do? And she said, nothing. And I said, well, Barbara, I'm here to help you. She says, no, I can do this. I said, well, come and get me if you need me. She was fine. She did a great job. But had I been there to help or oversee, she might not have been able to step up. So I think sometimes it's okay for someone else to be responsible for something or to do a job that you used to do. maybe they don't do it the same or better, they just do it their way. Then that's time for you to say, this is getting done now, where now can I go to continue the growth of the church? I don't have to do the potlucks anymore, but what can I do? There's no way I could teach a class anymore. I can't get down, especially the little ones. I can't get down. Well, I can get down, I just can't get bugged up. But that doesn't mean that I'm not there. Like if Shannon comes to me for something, or sometimes Logan will call, and he goes to a Bible study at his school, and he'll want clarification, and he'll call one of us. Hey, what about this? So I still have a role to play. It's just not the potlucks, or it's just not teaching the little ones. But there's a lot of work to be done in the church. Nobody should have nothing to do. That makes sense? Everybody should have a job.
Everyone should have a job, but you
Lot
know,
of work.
sometimes you say, okay, 1, 2, 3. There's only 10 jobs, you know, and they're all filled, so I'll sit back and no. Create something new, all right? We didn't realize that you had that talent, and now look what we have, you know. Do not be stuck because you don't see an empty chair. Create a new.
And it doesn't have to be something in the church. It could be something outside the church. The ladies are gathering up items for the new moms.
All right.
But that's not something necessarily that is done at the church. That's not something we hold here. We go there. If we have a ministry, we go there.
Yes.
It's not something that has to be done at the church. It could be something done in the Lord's name someplace else.
But one of the things, let's keep going and I'll bring you my point. Okay, let's drop in. Okay, I read that. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, on these we bestow greater honor. And our unpresentable parts have greater modesty. But our presentable parts have no need. But God composed the body, having given greater honor to that part which lacks it. And there should be no schism in the body, that the members should have the same care one for another. For one another. And if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. Or if one member is honored, all the members rejoice in it. Interdependence. All right? Wow, you brought back that award for us. All right? Only one person holding it up, but if that quarterback's smart, the first thing it says is, I could not have done this without, all right? Because those big guys on the other side of that line would have leveled me unless someone got in the way of them. Yes? All right? It's interdependence. Interdependence. Now you are the body of Christ and members individually, and God has appointed these in the church. First apostles, second prophets, third teachers, and after that miracles and gifts of healing, helps, administrations, varieties of tongues. Are all apostles? Nope. Are all prophets? Are all teachers? Are all workers of miracles? Do all have gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the best gifts, and yet I show you a more excellent way, leading into chapter 13. There's a lot of things that go on in the church that everyone isn't aware of. But we appreciate it. All right? Just going into the restroom and finding a towel to dry your hands. You know, someone had to have put it there. All right? Yes, sir.
You know, one of the things at 69th Street Church, right on, they still,
69th and Imperial. Yes.
yeah, they still go to the nursing home as a group. You can visit people as a group, like, especially if somebody's in your member of your congregation, 4 or 5 people go and sing that. If you didn't have that, some people would never go, you know, and 4 or 5 people, and then also, they would have like, okay, so we're gonna sing, and you're a member of the church, and the other people, you encourage the other people that's in the perform a little service.
At the church that I used to be a member of, Lolita,
That's something we can do.
the ladies, they would, every month, once a month, they'd go to the nursing home, and we'd have a song, all right? We were always, you know, it was there, and I never sung, never led songs, did not want to lead songs, found myself, no men there. I had all the ladies, and I just happened, I drove Lolita over there next to them, Freddie, here's the song. Oh my goodness, here we go. All right, I sure hope they like these songs, all right?
Pretty guy, just say one thing,
Yes,
some
sir.
people in the nursing home never get visitors. And while you there at that nursing home, maybe, you don't necessarily have to just, you know, you get permission, that one room, you can visit some other rooms to cheer them up. You know,
Lolita used to go out and get gifts. Remember those little $5 gifts, $10 gifts? She smiled, all right? But she had to make sure everybody in there got something, all right? Somebody knew that somebody cared about them, all right? Was that part of, you know? There's
I
all
was in the
kinds of way
hospital
to
when Dad
contribute.
didn't wanna go home. He said, I ain't got nobody to go home to, I
See,
ain't got nobody.
again.
He didn't have no, he said he didn't have nobody, he just wanted to stay there, he was home. Come on, we can help a lot of ways.
Let's go back to verse 25. I got that little note to myself. Said, go back to verse 25. That there should be no schism in the body, but that the members should have the same care for one another. We should strive for unity. Look for those ways that we can get closer to each other. Yes? What's your middle name? All right, no, I'm sorry. We need to. Yes? We're out of time. All right? Let's show our talents. Let's let folks, you know, what is it? Don't put your light under a bushel basket, yes? But let it be seen. Thank you very much. Let's keep striving. Chapter 13, going to tell you the manner in which you use your talents. Yes? Thank you so very much. Oh, and by the way, I was sitting right there when Larry turned around and said, you're bringing a message next Sunday, and I busted out laughing. He didn't tell you that part, because I knew that was a joke.
You are bringing it next Sunday.
Oh, my goodness, it is. And he told me that the other day. He said, next Sunday's Easter, Freddie, you got it. I said, okay.
All about Easter.
All about Easter. We celebrate Easter